I can't even get there. Welcome to another episode of What You're Reading with Zena. Hi y'all, welcome back. This is the last episode of 2020. We did it, y'all. I'm gonna look away so that you can grieve in private. You done? Okay. We've been through a lot. 2020 has kicked us in the ass. Fully kicked. And with everything that we've experienced, a bunch of loss, a bunch of sickness, financial instability, tragedies, it's just been a hell of a year. Within all of that, though, I definitely learned to appreciate life a lot more, to appreciate my loved ones and connections, and just going out and doing regular stuff like sitting in a coffee shop, which I haven't done since like January. So used to take that for granted, but I don't anymore. And just, I hope that what we learned during this year, and you didn't have to learn anything. If you survived, that was enough. But for me, just learning to appreciate those little things that I was just like, oh, it's just life. No, those things are huge, and you don't realize how huge they are until they're taken away from you. So I will definitely be going into 2021 and every year beyond with a greater appreciation of all of those things. I hope you're here with me. We'll talk about more plans later, but for now, I just want to jump into the last book of the year that I've been reading, which has been Luster by Raven Leilani. So here she is. This is such a pretty book. It's super reflective and kind of like different colors. Very pretty cover. Okay, so let's get into it. Luster introduces us to Edie, who is a 23-year-old living in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and she is struggling, honey. But not in the typical way that most 23-year-olds struggle, by drinking like discount tequila or stealing toilet paper from work. No, she goes beyond, okay? So I hate when people use the word witty to describe a book, but this is the first word that comes to mind with this book. It really is genuinely witty. The story opens up with her meeting Eric, a guy that she's been talking to online for, I think they said about a month, and they're finally meeting for the first time. So, this could be the start of something really sweet, and maybe the start of a relationship. The tide may be changing in Edie's life, but it ain't. It ain't. The sentences are breakneck and intricate, but funny as hell and very punchy. So like this one line she says about Eric's enjoyment of a roller coaster. She says, like most white people who eat beans in the woods undeterred by the fresh fecal evidence of hungry bears, Eric finds his mortality and soft, meaty body a petty, incidental thing. I, on the other hand, am acutely aware of all the ways I might die. So it's very like high level, like we're using big words and all that such and such, but it is funny. At the end of the day, it's really kind of drawing these funny dynamics between her and Eric, who I didn't mention, but yeah, he's white, she's black. So that's a thing that we already have established at the beginning, okay? So it's hilarious. It's hilarious. This book is not for people who had trouble reading aloud in 5th grade, okay? You're gonna be embarrassed trying to read this book. I had to go back several times and be like, what did she say? What did she say? Edie is a well-developed character. I felt like from the beginning that I really knew her and I really got her, which is that she's freaking weird as hell. She's strange. The girl is strange. She likes to be hit. She explained, I'll listen to her explain one of her fantasies about Eric. She says, I want us to fight in public. And when we fight in private, I want him to maybe accidentally punch me. I want us to have a long, fruitful bird-watching career. And then I want us to find out we have cancer at exactly the same time. Then I remember his wife. The coaster eases downward and we fall. That's not normal, sis. It's not a normal thing to think or want or feel. I was like, something's wrong with baby girl. And this was like page 11, so you're gonna get that as soon as you start reading. Edie is fucking peculiar completely. She's strange. And the word desperate comes to mind. I kind of get the sense throughout the book that she'll take anything that's given to her. She doesn't have any way of sussing out what's good for her or what's not. It's dysfunctional. It's a lot of dysfunctional behavior. So she's totally not bothered by her life being so damn sad. And a lot of it is really sad. And as you read, you'll get a better idea of why. She's also really devoid of emotions for like big things. So like when she gets fired, or when she loses her apartment, her reactions are very like baseline, like, it is what it is. But then she has these over the top sort of emotions and feelings about Eric, which, you know, leads her to do some crazy things. So it's like, in one way, she's not reacting at all. In the other way, she's doing super over the top, sort of dysfunctional, weird, strange things. At times, her dysfunction made me really uncomfortable. I was like, you need to conjure up some boundaries, sis. You need to conjure up some standards. I'm gonna need those standards, you know? Because otherwise, I can't just keep watching you do crazy stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot. But, I mean, it served its purpose. The author really got me to know Edie and really understand her motivations and kind of not be so put off by the things that she does. Besides carrying on a relationship with the married man, and sleeping with like her entire office. Like, I'm not talking like she had sex with like 2 or 3 people. No, it's like an entire like paragraph, like entire page is dedicated to her listing all of the people that she slept with in her office.
We were all about hand jobs and blowjobs.
So sleeping with the married man, sleeping with literally everyone in her office. She also, baby girl puts a rock in her mouth at one point. I mean, who even does that? Who just puts a rock? I can't even get there. But she's not the only one. Eric and his wife, Rebecca, are so awkward. Everything that they do is completely awkward. And it leads me to some of the things that I didn't quite connect with the book. It's like, I know with fiction, you're supposed to suspend reality a little bit, but I just felt like some of it was way to the left. I had to suspend a lot of reality. Like, who lives like this? Like, who lives like this? Who does these things? Who behaves this way? And maybe that's just me. Maybe I've just been sheltered. But I don't think so. I really think some of it was like crazy. It was just like, who are these people? And what's going on? And why don't any of them get therapy? It's slightly unbelievable. You know? Entertaining as fuck, but slightly unbelievable. Also, at times I felt like the story was a bit more of a show of her writing prowess rather than an actual story. She could write her ass off. I mean, the girl is really, really talented. So I was like, go off, sis. I mean, if I was able to write that beautifully and intricately and witty and comical, I would probably just go into. But it definitely got to a point where it felt like, okay, like we didn't necessarily need all of those twists and turns of phrases and all of that stuff going in. It kind of detracted from the story a bit to where you felt like you were reading.
Hey, enough already. You
know, and I don't think that's supposed to happen. You're supposed to feel like you're maybe like watching or experiencing a story rather than reading word for word. So I felt like some of it got to be like, I'm about to show y'all, you know, how I got this book published because I write, because I got my MFA. Like, it was going down that path. So again, beautiful writing, but it pulled me out of the story sometimes with how wordy and, you know, kind of intricate it was. So secondly, I also wish that it had more natural breaks in the story. It went on for quite a long time. I mean, chapter 5 alone is 38 pages. Well, that's one chapter that is 38 pages long. An average chapter in a book is typically anywhere from 8 to 10 pages long. So to have it like stretch out for 38 pages was a bit much. So what happened with that is when I had to put down the book to, you know, go live life, I felt like I was stopping at a natural point. I wanted to be given the breathing room to kind of step away from the story and return to it. But it's just kind of like a breakneck sort of of writing and storytelling that just flows. And so I think it's best taken if you have like a couple of days and you just want to sit down and really just read the book. It's probably the best way to do it, rather than, you know, reading a little chunk of it and then coming back and then stepping away and coming back, because I felt like I got out of the momentum of the story whenever I had to like take a break from it and come back, because I was stopping in the middle of a 38-page chapter. Maybe it will not bother other people, but it bothers me. I like, you know, kind of smaller chunks that I can digest a little bit more easily. So getting back into the meat of the story. So Edie meets up with Eric. They go out on this first date, and she is well aware of the fact that he's married. So it's not like he's keeping this from her. He tells her that his wife knows about her. They talk about this, and they kind of have a little bit of an open, you know, relationship. So I don't want to give away what happens in the story, but from the little blurb about the book, what you do know is that Edie winds up being invited into their home to kind of live with them. And it's not by Eric. It's actually by Rebecca. His wife invites her in. And it's very weird from there. There is a surprise kind of character and dynamic that happens in there, and I don't want to give that away because I really enjoyed kind of having that surprise come at me. It was a really great part of the story, so I'll leave that for you guys if you want to read it. But yeah, it was really kind of seeing this weird dynamic. I mean, we're always interested in that, right? That's why we like watching, what's the TLC? TLC used to have a show, maybe they still do, The Sister Wives. I stopped watching it years ago, but maybe it's still on. But we always like to see like these polygamy stories and having like the wife and then the girlfriend and how they all kind of make that work when they know about each other. We all know the raggediness that goes on when you're hiding it, right? When a man has like a wife and then he's hiding the mistress on the side.
Oh, Sharkeisha! Oh my God, Sharkeisha!
But when it's like everybody's in the know and everyone's aware of what's going on, it's kind of like, how does that work? How do people navigate that? So we see how this relationship kind of happens from the beginning. And at times it's working and at times it's not. And what I found really refreshing about the story was the dynamic between Rebecca and Edie and their relationship. It stopped being more about Eric. I actually forgot Eric was in the story sometimes. Because it was just like, their dynamic was so interesting and the weird shit that they did together was so interesting that I was like, oh, there's a husband involved in somewhere. Didn't need him. But he was funny to have there. So it was really beautiful to see the way that Edie and Rebecca kind of got to know themselves through one another. They really had this completely sort of raw observation of one another. Edie and Rebecca kind of experienced that we can't really walk through here putting on any airs with one another, knowing that we're pretty much sharing a man. They had to be really transparent with each other. And even though it was weird, it's not like, oh, let's braid each other's hair and shit. It was very weird in there. I feel like they allowed each other to get, you know, to where they needed to get to by the end of the story, to have some sort of growth and closure in everything that, you know, needed to happen. So it was really great to read that. And like I said, there's another little relationship in there with the character that is really, really dope. And I found that to be super great to read as well. You know me, I will give spoilers all goddamn day. So I'm going to shut up so I don't say any more about that, because the story explored the difference between performing perfection for someone versus allowing someone to see the messy parts of that, of our human and personhood, and not having that detract from our talent or our worth. So it was definitely some big undertones in there. I think a lot more could have been done with the story, but I think it would have been, like I said, it's a small book. It was a very quick read. So maybe if it was meatier and chunkier, we could have gotten to see a little bit more. Like, I wanted a little bit more information about Edie's backstory. We got a little bit with her parents, but I feel like there was more there that was kind of not explored. and also a little bit more about Rebecca and Eric's relationship, like what really led them to this point where they're okay with having some form of an open relationship, you know? So that was a little bit left kind of hanging as well. But other than that, it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. So that's Luster by Raven Leilani. A beautiful writer. So go pick it up if you want to read it. And that's my last book. I keep saying the same thing because I kind of don't want to end. I don't want to end. So here is where I would usually introduce what my next book is, you know, do my little reveal. But since it's the end of the year, I'm going to be taking a few weeks off to kind of recalibrate. As I said, my plan is to move this wonderful show to YouTube. Still going to be posting it here on IGTV as well. So you guys can, I sound like a robot there, IGTV. I want to just make sure that it's accessible to more people than, you know, only IG. So I'm gonna do that. So keep your eyes open for some announcements where you can continue to watch this, where you can subscribe, like, and all that jazz. Okay, so I read a lot of good books this year. What I'm going to do is show you all of the excellent books that I read this year. So this is actually not all of them. I did borrow some books from the library, which I, of course, returned. So I don't have them physically with me to show. But I remember that I read Thick by Tressie McMillan Cottom. I also read My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Brathwaite, which was very good. So those books you won't physically see here. But other than that, let's look at the pretty covers and look at everything that I read this year. Okay. I also put them in order. So we're going to go from my favorite book that I've read this year, down to my kind of least favorite. But okay, so here we go. I had so much freaking fun reading with you guys this year, and I am looking forward to reading more with you next year. I'm going to start off the year reading some mysteries and thrillers. This has been fun, guys. I'm gonna miss doing these for a couple of weeks, but when we come back, it's gonna be New Year. It's gonna be 2021. We're gonna leave this trash year behind us, and we're gonna move on. I love you guys. Have a safe, happy New Year. Drink a little something. Kiss up on a little something. Well, maybe don't kiss because COVID. But have fun, damn it. All right. Love you guys. Bye.